How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf, I think, Yud Beis. I think that's what we're up to. I don't know. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Oh, okay. Okay, gewaldig. Today we're studying Daf Yud Beis, Daf 12 of Masechta Sanhedrin. Friends. Yeah, we're talking about more Kiddush Achodesh, like Tkufas, like Iber Hashana kind of stuff. We're going to get into like Tuma Hutra B'tzibur, Tuma Dechuya B'tzibur kind of stuff. Okay, anyways, fine. Alright, but here's the thing. It's Motzoi Shabbos, and I just made Havdalah, and now I have wine. So, I don't know. I have a glass of wine here. Now, I don't think I've ever recorded Babylon Talmud while drinking wine. I've recorded Babylon Talmud while drinking coffee, while drinking tea probably. Yeah, definitely tea. One time I was drinking whiskey. Remember that, friends? Remember when, I think it was 4 years ago already, like around now, maybe another month or two ahead, but around now, Masechta Tainus. I had no voice at all. At all. How are you supposed to record Babylon Talmud when you have no voice? Do you remember that? I was like whispering. It was a struggle. And one time I tried, maybe if I could drink whiskey. I was hoping whiskey would somehow help. I don't know that it helped. But I have wine this time. The challenge with drinking wine is that it takes a long time to drink. You gotta move it around and smell it and drink it and taste it and breathe it. I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, yeah. Okay. We'll see, but I got a glass of wine here. What am I supposed to do? Alright, we'll see. Here we go. We'll see if I get drunk. I don't know if I don't think I've ever recorded Babylon Talmud drunk. I don't think so. Alright, L'chaim, here we go. Let's take a little bit of wine. Things okay. Now I'm spinning it around. Okay, now I gotta smell it. Alright, it smells like wine. It's already been open for like a day. Okay, it's Motzei Shabbos. Let's see. Alright, well, it smells like wine. Alright. Tastes like wine. That's awesome. I like wine. It tastes like something I like. That's good. This is a Yardain Merlot. Yardain Merlot. It's very good, the Yardain Merlot. It's a big wine. It's big, but it's got a very good flavor. Very, very good, punchy kind of flavor. Not when it's been open for so long, but very, very delicious wine. Alright, here we go. Daf Yud Aleph Mud Beis all the way at the bottom. So if it is a year where there is a food shortage, so we won't make a leap year, because if we do, well, then basically we're extending the Chadash. Oh, yeah, it's not a good idea to drink wine while you record something complicated. But yeah, if you make a leap year, so basically there's a shortage of food. You want to be able to eat whatever food you can get your hands on, and now you have the new grain that's just waiting for the Korban HaOmer, or waiting for the second day of Pesach so you can eat the Chadash. And by making a leap year, you're basically pushing off that date, and the second day of Pesach, you're pushing it off by a month. And like there's food that people are just chalishing to eat, and they can't eat it, so we don't make a leap year when there's a food shortage. Rabbi Tanya, we learn in a Braise. Rabbi Yomi says, Rabbi, there's a different gear that says Meir. V'ish ba mibal shalisha. There's a pasuk in Melachim Beis. V'ish ba mibal shalisha. There was a person who came from a place called Baal Shalisha. Vayove leisha Elokim, and he brought to the man of God, to, I believe that's Elisha, lechem bikurim, so kind of new bread, so meaning newly ripened bread. Okay. Esrim lechem sa'orim, 20, and these were 20 barley breads. Okay. So basically this guy came from Baal Shalisha and he brought to Elisha 20 barley breads. Okay. Now, Baal Shalisha is the place in Eretz Yisrael that its produce ripens first. Okay. So if we're saying that it's lechem bikurim, so these were freshly ripened breads, I guess bread from freshly ripened produce, coming from Baal Shalisha, which means that this is the place whose produce ripened first. Okay. And even so, lo bichur ela min echod. And even though this was from Baal Shalisha, we're talking about a scenario where there was only one species that had ripened yet. None of the others had already ripened. Only one species. Maybe you'll say it's wheat, which ripens later on. Tamulomer sa'orim. No, it says sa'orim, it's barley. Now, barley ripens first. Okay? Apparently. Apparently, barley is the first grain to ripen. Okay? And it came from Baal Shalisha, which is the first place that things ripen. So these were basically the very first crops that were available this year. Shematomer lifnei omer. And maybe you'll say that it was before the Omer. Okay, so maybe the Omer was not yet brought. And therefore, this was Chodosh. The Omer was not yet brought. It came from Baal Shalisha. These were the first grains to ripen. The barley from Baal Shalisha, it was before the Omer. The Omer is going to be later on. This was Chodosh. But Tamalom tein lam v'yochelu. The same pasuk says that Elisha says, give it to the people, right? And Elisha says, give it to the people so that they can eat it. So if they can eat it, so then that means that meaning if this is freshly ripened barley, that means it's obviously chodosh. It was just ripened, right? Barley is the first to ripen, and this was Baal Shalisha, the first place that things ripen. So this was the first stuff. Obviously, it's talking about Chodosh, yet at the same time, he says, Tein lam v'yochelu, give it to the people so that they can eat it. If it was Chodosh, then they wouldn't be able to eat it. So clearly, Tein lam v'yochelu, sa'achar omer hoya, which means that clearly the omer was already offered. So if that's the case, why was the omer already offered if we're just talking about the new stuff? So Tein lam v'yochelu, sa'achar omer hoya. So it means that really that year should have already been leaped. Should have been leaped because clearly it was a year where there was a shortage. Why did Elisha not leap the year? Because it was a year of famine, and everybody was just running to the granaries in order to get what they can. Now it must be actually right. Now clearly then this grain was already ripened, I guess, before the Omer was brought, because if it ripened afterwards, then I guess it would already be, I imagine it would be Yashon for the next year. I assume, right? So imagine just talking about that this was basically from grain that, it was the first to ripen, but there wasn't much else that had ripened, right? So meaning only the barley had ripened. Right, only the barley had already ripened, nothing else had already ripened. So now, so the barley in Baal Shalisha had already ripened, but basically no other grains had ripened yet. So normally that would be a red flag, and normally you would have leaped the year to wait for everything to ripen, so that there's surplus, and that you bring the Omer once there's already a lot of grain to be benefit from. But in this case, because it was a year of food scarcity, so even though the only thing that was ready when the Omer came was just very minimal stuff, just like barley and Baal Shalisha, but still you don't make a leap year during a year of food scarcity, and therefore that barley was therefore the Omer had already been offered, and this barley was able to be enjoyed. Givaldik. All right. let me maybe drink a little bit more wine. L'chaim. Maybe, Cheve, if you want to pour yourselves a glass of wine, and every time I take a shluck, you can take a shluck. It's not much wine here. Tastes like wine. Gewaldig. Wow. Oh gosh, I'm gonna get thoroughly drunk. I think I'm going out tonight, and hopefully this won't make me sleepy. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught. Okay, we do not leap the year before Rosh Hashanah, right? So in the leap year, there, right, Adar is doubled, right? So I mean, Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev, Tevet, Shvat, Adar, Kilu. You got plenty of time until Adar is going to be doubled. And so we don't kind of like declare the leap year prior to Tishrei, right? Prior to Rosh Hashanah. V'im ibrua eina me'uberes. And if they did so, if they leaped the year before, right, prior to Rosh Hashanah, it does not work. It's invalid. Avol. But if there was an emergency, for whatever reason that they couldn't wait to deliberate till later on, maybe there was, does Rashi say anything? Shema lo yeh sham bezdin mufla samach la'adar, or shema yava amelech adomi v'yakiv ayodon ma'abin osa during the gola achar Rosh Hashanah miyad. If for whatever reason they're not going to, it's going to be impossible to convene a bezdin later on, or who knows what can add. If for whatever reason they know that it's going to be tricky to hold off, so they can deliberate and kind of make the decision about leaping the year before Rosh Hashanah, but actually proclaiming it and announcing. What does pronounce mean? Proclaiming. That's probably a good word. To proclaim it, they would hold off proclaiming until after Rosh Hashanah. So again, but if there's some kind of emergency, ma'abin also achar Rosh Hashanah miyad, they can immediately, they could be ma'aberet immediately after Rosh Hashanah. Okay, fine. Okay. Fine. Where am I? And even so, ein ma'abin elo odor. Okay, and even so, even if they have to, proclaim the leap year, the leap year, immediately after Rosh Hashanah, still they're not going to like double Tishrei. Right? No, they're gonna. Right, Adar is always the month that is doubled. Zeo. Ini, is this so? Is what so? I don't know. I don't remember. I'm drunk. Ini, I'm not drunk. I'm just like, I'm like drinking wine. What am I going to tell you? So like, let's just go weiter. It'll work out. But they sent to Rave Zugba Mirakas. A pair of, I guess, students has come from Tiberia. Tafsu Nesher. I don't know. Tafsu Nesher, apparently they got like stopped by like the Romans or something. The Persians. And in their hands were things that were made in luz. What's that? Tcheles. In the merit of mercy and in their merit, Yatsu B'Shalom, they survived the ordeal peacefully. And those who come from Nachshon came from Yehuda, i.e. the Nasi in Eretz Yisrael, they wanted to add another month to the year. They wanted to make a leap year. But the Edomites, okay, does it say? Adomi Alaz, Malchus HaRishah goes to Shmad Alein. Okay. So I get, what? So what, in like Israel, were they dealing with the Romans, and in Persia they were dealing with the Persians? I get, maybe. And who was in the year 5, in the year like 300, 400, so I guess Bavel was like Persian, I guess? Oh gosh, who knows this stuff? And what was going on in Eretz Yisrael at that time? Was that still like Roman stuff? I have no clue. But they refer to them to Edomi, which is like Edomites, which might be Romans. I don't know. Avobali Asufis Nesvu, but the the people who gather together and learn and stuff, gathered together, and they, what a cryptic message, and they nonetheless made a leap year, and this was done in the Yerech Shemes Ba'aharon, in the month that Aharon HaKohen died, i.e. in Av. So that's what the ini is. Is that so? Meaning, is it so that leaping the year prior to Rosh Hashanah is invalid? But we see that this letter was sent to Rave that alleges that the year was leaped in Av, 2 months before Rosh Hashanah. So the Gemara answers, well, they can deliberate about the leaping the year in Av. That's all fine and good, but proclaiming it would have to wait until after Rosh Hashanah. How do we know that Nitziv is a reference to a month? The Pasuk says, Shneim also Nitzivim Al Kol Yisrael, that Shlomo had 12 of these like appointees. In each of these 12 Nitzivim, each of these 12 appointees would sustain the king and his household for 1 month of the year. So there's 12 Nitzivim, each one representing 1 month. So we see that a Nitziv is a reference to a month. But it says there was only one Nitziv. Rav Yehuda, Rav Nachman, Machloikis, Rav Yehuda, Rav Nachman, Chadomer, Echad Memuna al Kulam. So one says, well, there was an additional one who was in charge of all of them. Vichad Omar, and one of them says, Echad Omar Kineged Chodesh Ibor, that the additional one was not one that was in charge of all the rest, but the additional one was for when there's a leap year, when there's a 13th month. All right, Cheve, for everybody who has poured a glass of wine, here we go. L'chaim Tovim L'shalom. It's Yutes Kislev, either today or whatever. So I think I'm probably going after this to Kfar Chabad. I'm probably going after this to Kfar Chabad with a friend of mine. So L'chaim Yom Tif HaGeula and L'chaim. That's good. Ooh, very good. I just ordered a case of wine from my friend. I have to pick that up. Yeah, as you notice, I have the wine behind me. If you notice that there's the bottles, they're lessening. There's less and less each week. So I have to replenish them. Okay. Now, where are we? The Rabbi is taught. Where are we? Yeah, okay. So you can't, I gotta change the video soon. Okay, we'll get there. The rabbis taught, you can't leap a year from 1 year to the next. Meaning, if we know that next year is going to have to be a leap year, we don't say, okay, let's just leap this year instead of next year. No. If next year is the one that's going to need to be a leap year, I don't know, maybe because of like the tkufa or whatever, so they calculate that and they know that next year is going to have to be a leap year, we don't say, so we wait until next year to leap the year. And we don't leap 3 years in a row. Imagine if you leap 3 years in a row. For 3 years in a row, there's an extra month in the year. Oh, this is going to confuse me. You're going to end up having, be'etzem, like Rosh Hashanah is going to be in the middle of the summer. No, the opposite. Rosh Hashanah is going to be in the middle of the winter. What does Rashi say? Yeah, okay, fine. Rosh Hashanah will be in the winter, but also, right, Pesach is going to be in the middle of the summer, right? If you add a month to this year, and a month to next year, and a month to next year, you're basically pushing off Pesach 3 months, basically. So then, after the third year, Pesach is going to be already in the middle of the summer. Right? Each season is 3 months. So if you add a month for 3 years in a row, basically all holidays and everything is going to be pushed off by a whole season. Okay. Says Reb Shimon, Maise Babakive. There was a Maise with Rabbi Akiva that he was in jail. Of course, we know that Rabbi Akiva was one of the Asara Harugei Malchus, and he was imprisoned. V'Iber shalosh shanim zo achar zo, and he leaped 3 years in a row. Amar lo misham raya, they responded to Shimon, really? Are you bringing a proof from there? Bezdin yashvu v'kavu achas achas v'zmana. Kilu, yes, he was the expert. Rabbi Akiva was the expert. He was in jail. He was about to be killed. So they came to him, and while he was still alive, they made the proper calculations and stuff, and they worked out with him when the next 3 leap years were going to be. But it's not that they leaped 3 years in a row, but they planned out when the next 3 were going to be, and then at each one, when it was its proper time, they then declared it. But it was not 3 years were leaped in a row. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, in Ma'abenes Hashana lo b'shvius, okay, we don't leap a year during Shemitah. Right? During Shemitah, you can't work the land. If you leap the year during Shemitah, you're extending the amount of time that you can't work the land, which is, that creates a tricky situation. People need to eat. People need to eat. People need to work the land. People to do, properly work the land. Okay, so there's Shemitah every 7 years, but we don't extend that. We don't make it longer than it is. And also not in Motzai Shvius, because if you have Shemitah and sort of the land is producing less because of Shemitah, and then finally you have the next year, the 8th year, and you're working the land, and finally there's a yield. If you make a leap year, then you're going to push off the Omer by a year, and you're going to push off the ability to eat Chodosh by an additional month, and you just need to already eat what's available already. When would be when would they normally make leap years? Erev Shvius, on Shvius Eve, the year before Shemitah, because it gives you an extra month to work the land before Shemitah. In Rabbi Gamliel's household, they would make leap years on year 8, on Motzai Shvius. We pluked Dehani Tanoi, and it's based on the machloikis of the following Tanoim, the Tana, the Learned Brisa, and Mevin Yerek Michutz Lords, V'Abosenu Yitiru. That's a machloikis about during Shemitah, can you bring produce from chutzlarts, right? Can you bring produce from chutzlarts? So Rabbi Gamliel would hold, yes, you can. And therefore, if you could bring produce from chutzlarts, so it's not really a emergency, because there is, during the 8th year, there will be produce available anyway. So if you need to make a leap year, you can make a leap year, and there won't be necessarily an issue. What does Rashi say? Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fine. So, yeah, exactly. And there isn't a concern about Yashon, about the Yashon running out, because you can bring from chutzlarts. Okay. So it's machlokes. Okay. So ein mevin yak from chutzlarts. Rabbi Senu Yitiru. Okay. Fine. My benai. What's an afgunu between the Tanakama who says no and those who say yes? The nafkamina is, are we concerned about the dirt of chutzah? It says Rashi choshen legushayin, about 5 lines from the bottom of Rashi, 6 lines maybe. Shem yavi ima migush eretz am shemitami be'oil. Right? That are we concerned that with the produce will come some dirt from chutzah, and the dirt of chutzah will be mitami be'oil? We don't want that. So Tanakama says we have to be concerned. But those who say you can bring it are not concerned. Okay. So now we start getting into sugyas of Tuma B'tzibur. Here we go. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Ein ma'abenes hashana mipnei atuma. We do not leap the year on account of Tuma. So if all of the people are Tameh, if all the Yidden are Tameh, so Korban Pesach is coming up. We do not add a month of the year, a month to the year, so that people can become tahor for the Korban Pesach. Rather, they just bring it betuma. Okay, they just bring it betuma. Now, this is going to get into the machlok. Okay, maybe this already makes sense to bring it up now. There's the whole shaila of tuma hutra b'tzibur, tuma dechuya b'tzibur. Basically, we learned about this in Masechta Pesachim. That be'etzim, if all of the people are tameh, or majority of the people are tameh, so they could just bring the Korban Pesach betuma. That becomes okay. And therefore, we do not leap the year on account of all the people being tamei, rather than just bring a betuma that year. Rabbi Yehuda Omer me'abrin. Rabbi Yehuda says that we are me'aber the year mipnei atuma. Okay, we're going to get into this. We're going to get into this. But okay, be'etzim, Rabbi Yehuda says that we do leap the year. Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda Maise b'Chizkiya Melech Yehuda. There was a Maise with Chizkiya Melech Yehuda. She'iber es hashana mipnei atuma. That he did this. That Itaka leaped the year because the people were tamei. Uvikashach malatzmo, and then he asked mercy for himself. He did tshuva because of it. Because the shal is, if he was supposed to do it, then why did he ask tshuva? Okay. The pasuk says, "Ki mar b'so'am rabas me'Ephraim u'Menashe Yisachar u'Zevulun lo yiteharu." That most of the people were not tahor; they were tamei. Ki achlos haPesach beloy kasuv. That they and they did the Korban Pesach not at the proper time, i.e., they pushed it off. They made a leap year. Ki yispal Chizkiyahu aleim lemor, and Chizkiyahu prayed, saying, "Hashem atov yichaper ba'ad," that the Eibishter should atone, should forgive us. Okay, fine. So Tanna Kamma says that we don't leap the year on account of Tumah. Rabbi Yehuda says we do. Rabbi Shimon Omer says, Rabbi Shimon im mipnei atuma ibrua, if they leaped it on account of Tumah, meuberes, it is leaped. Okay, fine. Okay, we're going to have to explain all this kind of. Now, if the year was supposed to be leaped, according to Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Shimon, well then, why did Chizkiah have to ask for tshuva? Why did he have to pray? He didn't do anything wrong. If it's supposed to be leaped, so he leaped it. It was supposed to be leaped. Because what is the month that you leap? Adar. And you leap Adar in Adar. But he only leaped the year once it was already Nisan. It was already Nisan, and then he changed it to be Adar. We're going to have to explain all of this, Batsim. Reb Shimon ben Yehuda Omer says, Reb Shimon ben Yehuda, Reb Shimon, the name of Reb Shimon, because he told them to do Pesach Sheni. That's what he did. He told them to do Pesach Sheni, and that was wrong. They should have just done Pesach Rishon. So therefore, he asked for tshuva on that. Okay, there's so much stuff that we have to understand here. And okay, so we just learned that about, okay, the people are tamei. Tanna Kamma says don't leap the year. Rabbi Yehuda says yes. Reb Shimon, seems to say yes, which seems to essentially be the same thing as Rabbi Yehuda, I guess. But then they're also saying that Chizkiah did it, but then he asked for tshuva. Why did he ask for tshuva? Because he leaped the year in Nisan. Did he really leap the year in Nisan? There's a lot of questions over here, and the Gemara is going to flesh them out. Amar Mar, we said earlier. Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda, me'abrin. Should I finish my one? Yeah. Okay. Cheve, let's make our final l'chaim. Everybody, Babylon Talmud, except for whoever's driving. Use maybe drink juice or water, and everybody think to yourselves a happy thought. L'chaim. That was good. All right, no more wine. Let's learn. We said earlier. Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda me'abrin. Okay, we are me'aber. Okay, so it says Rabbi Yehuda that if the people are tamei, so we will add a month to the year to allow the people to become tahor, so that they could offer the Korban Pesach when they're tahor. Alma isle Rabbi Yehuda tuma dechuya hi b'tzibur, which means, therefore, the Rabbi Yehuda holds tuma dechuya hi b'tzibur. What does that mean? It means, look, if the majority of Am Yisrael is tamei, so you could bring the Korban Pesach b'tumah. Everyone agrees with that. The question is, what if you can avoid everybody bringing the Korban Pesach b'tumah? What if you could leap the year? And by doing so, everybody will be tahor. Is it lichatchila? Is it tuma hutra b'tzibur? Is it that when the majority of the congregation is tamei, all of a sudden Tumah becomes mutar. If it's the whole congregation or the majority of the congregation, so like on the one hand, right, there's Pesach Sheni. On the one hand, if you're Tameh, you don't bring the Korban Pesach. You wait a month and bring Pesach Sheni. But if it's the whole year, if it's the whole community, or at least the majority of them, so then you could do it b'tumah. Then you tumah hutru b'tzibur. So you say tumah hutru b'tzibur, that yeah, they do it b'tumah, and that's mamish lichatchila, it's mamish mutar legamre. Or do we say tumah dechuyahi b'tzibur? That look, lichatchila, you should, if you could leap the year and then everybody could bring it b'tahara, do that, of course, that would be better. If you can't, okay, so bring it b'tumah. Fine, b'seder. Kilu, is it lechatchila or is it b'diavad? Is it dechuyahi, that it's pushed off? Tumah is pushed off when everybody's tameh, but it's b'diavad. Or is it tumah hutra b'tzibur, that it's mamish lechatchila? So Rabbi Yehuda is saying, look, ma'abrin, leap the year. That way everybody can bring it b'tara. Meaning that this concept of when the majority of the of Am Yisrael is tameh, they can bring the Korban Pesach b'tumah, is b'diavad. Hey, if we could leap the year and everybody would do a petara, do that. So Rabbi Yehuda says ma'abrin, it must be that Rabbi Yehuda holds tuma dechuya he b'tzibur, that it's b'diavad. Hazoi. So again, Amar Ma, we said earlier, Rabbi Yehuda says Rabbi Yehuda ma'abrin, that we leap the year. Alma is said Rabbi Yehuda tuma dechuya b'tzibur. So we see that Rabbi Yehuda holds tuma dechuya he b'tzibur, not tuma hutra b'tzibur, but frek the Gemara. But frek the Gemara, we learn in a brisa. We're going to see a brisa in which Rabbi Yehuda says tuma hutra b'tzibur. In which case, why is he saying to leap the year? Vatane tzitz, the tzitz of the Kohen Gadol. The Kohen Gadol wears this gold plate on his forehead that says Kodesh LaHashem, if I'm not mistaken. And the tzitz is maratza on tumas kodshim. Okay, so if a korban becomes tameh, so the Kohen Gadol's tzitz atones for it, and it's okay. Now, Tanya tzitz, so when it comes to the tzitz, bein sheyeshno al mitzcho uvein she'eno al mitzcho, whether the tzitz is on the forehead of the Kohen Gadol, or whether it's not currently on the forehead of the Kohen Gadol, it doesn't matter. Miratze de Reb Shimon, Reb Shimon says that regardless of if the tzitz is currently on the forehead of the Kohen Gadol or not, it atones for tumas kodshim. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Odo amitzcho meratze, ein odo amitzcho ein meratze. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is that no, it has to be wearing it. If he's wearing it, then it atones. If he's not wearing it, it does not atone. Amalei Reb Shimon, Reb Shimon says to Rabbi Yehuda, Kohen Gadol b'Yom Kippurim yechiach. But what about the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur? When he goes lifnai v'lifnim, when he goes into Kodesh HaKadoshim, where he's wearing the big day lavon. He's wearing all white. He's not wearing any gold at all. So as not to bring up any memories of the Chet HaEgel. I think that's the reason, or at least a reason. En kategri yasa seneger. Or is it the en seneger yasa kategri? No, en kategri yasa seneger, I think. So, she'eno al mitzcho, that he's not wearing the tzitz, because the tzitz is gold, he's wearing the big day lavon. And yet, if any tumah arises with korbanis, umeratze, it will atone. So Reb Shimon says, you see, even when he's not wearing the tzitz, it atones. Amar lo Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda responds to Reb Shimon, Hanach le'Yom Kippurim, don't bring me a raya from Yom Kippur, shetumah hutra b'tzibur, that all of the korbanos in Yom Kippur are public korbanos, and memele tumah hutra b'tzibur. Tumah is permitted b'tzibur, and therefore there's no need for the tzitz, because memele, they're korbanos tzibur, and tumah hutra b'tzibur. So we see that Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is not, as we initially suggested, that tuma dechuya b'tzibur, rather tuma hutra b'tzibur, which then begs the question of why is Rabbi Yehuda saying that me'abrin, that we leap the year when everybody's tummy? I thought tuma hutra b'tzibur. V'letaimech tikshe lach ha gufa. But according to you, that you want to say that, this is I think what I just said, that if you want to therefore push the claim that Rabbi Yehuda holds tuma hutra b'tzibur, well then how do you understand this brisa? Right? The time of tikshe loch hi gufa, Rabbi Yehuda says Rabbi Yehuda me'abrin, that we leap the year on account of tumah. V'amar Rabbi Yehuda ma'aseh b'chizkei melech Yehuda she'iber es hashanu p'nei hatumah v'gisharach malatzmo. And Rabbi Yehuda then brings the proof from Chizkiah who leaped the year. So what's going on? Does it say Tuma Hutra B'tzibur, Dechuya B'tzibur? If it says Hutra B'tzibur, then why does the Brisa say that that you should leap the year? It's mutter. Rather, okay, you have to add in some words. You have to kind of massage the Brisa a little bit. This is what's going on. Here we go. Says the Tanakama, Ein me'abin es hashana mipnei atuma. Says the Tanakama, we do not leap the year on account of Tumah. V'im ibrua. If they did leap the year on account of Tumah, me'uberes, it works. Okay, if they leaped it, it is leaped. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, ein me'uberes. Rabbi Yehuda says that it is not leaped, because Rabbi Yehuda holds Tumah hutra hi b'tzibur. Rabbi Yehuda says Rabbi Yehuda, it says Rabbi Yehuda, and Chizkiah leaped the year because of Tumah, and then he asked he did tshuva because of it, because he did the wrong thing. Because Tumah hutra b'tzibur. Okay, if that's the case, Rabbi Shimon Omer im pnei Tumah ibrua meuberes hanu Tanakama. Okay, now Rabbi Shimon says if they leap the year on account of Tumah, then it works. Isn't that the Tanakama? Amarav says Rav l'chatchila ike benayu. Now for me it's the chatchila, right? The Tanakama says don't leap the year because of Tumah. If you did, b'diavad, then meuberes. Rabbi Shimon is saying im pnei Tumah ibrua meuberes, mamash l'chatchila. Tanam Yochi we also learn in a brayso like this between the Tanakama and Rabbi Shimon. Ein ma'abin es hashana pnei Tumah l'chatchila. That says the Tanakama, we do not leap the year l'chatchila. Whereas Rabbi Shimon says Rabbi Shimon ma'abin that we do leap the year l'chatchila. Okay, so now getting back to the question of then why did Chizkiah do tshuva after leaping the year if it's l'chatchila? She'ein ma'abin elo oder v'u iber Nisan b'Nisan, because we only leap Adar and he leaped Nisan in Nisan. Okay, let's go weiter. Amar, we just said ein ma'abin elo Adar v'u iber Nisan b'Nisan. V'leisa l'Chizkiah chodesh hazeh lochem. Does Chizkiah not hold that this month is for you? Chodesh hazeh lochem zeh Nisan. This is Nisan v'ein acher Nisan. That this is Nisan and nothing else can be Nisan. Okay, let's stop here for a second. So meaning, the way that we're understanding this up till now, right, is meaning we're saying, okay, so according to Reb Shimon, l'chatchila, you leap the year because of Tumah. Fine. So that's the case, then why did Chizkiah do tshuva because of it? So we said, well, because you only leap Adar, but he leaped Nisan and Nisan. What does this mean? So until now, what we're assuming it means is that, well, you have to leap the year prior to Nisan, because you're going to be adding Adar, and once it's already Nisan, it's already Nisan. But that's what he did. It was already Nisan, and that's when he leaped the year and changed Nisan to be Adar. The thing is, we said Nisan. Once it's already Nisan, it's Nisan. You can't change it to be Adar once it's already Nisan. So what does it mean he leaped the year in Nisan? So what does this mean? So rather, he made a mistake regarding that which Shmuel says. Shmuel says, Ein ma'abin es hashana ela b'yom what? Ein ma'abin es hashana b'yom shloshim shel Adar ha'over lekovo Nisan. That says, Shmuel, that on the 30th day of Adar, you may not leap the year on the 30th day of Adar. How come? Well, because since the 30th day of Adar could technically also be the first day of Nisan. Depends if it's a Chodesh Chaser or Chodesh Mali. Okay? If Adar is Chaser, so then, well, let's say, if Adar is Mali, so in the 30th day of Adar is Mamsha 30th day of Adar. It's still Adar. But if Adar is Chaser, day 30 of Adar is really day 1 of Nisan. So because the 30th day of Adar could already be Nisan, we don't leap the year on the 30th day of Adar. And he leaped the year on the 30th day of Adar, and for that reason he asked for tshuva. He did tshuva. Right? Again, in Ma'abin as Hashana b'yom shloshim shel Adar, we don't leap the year on the 30th day of Adar. Hol v'roi l'kov Nisan, since the 30th day of Adar could already theoretically be the first day of Nisan. V'iyu sover, but Chizkiah held hol v'roi lo aminun. He didn't hold of this concept. He didn't know or hold whatever of this concept of, well, since the 30th day could already be Nisan, don't do it. And he did it. And therefore he asked for tshuva. We also learn a brayso like this: that we don't leap the year on the 30th day of Adar, since it could already be Nisan. Okay, because he told the people to do Pesach Sheni. That's why he did tshuva. Heichidami. What exactly is the scenario? Rav Ashi says, Rav Ashi could go on, for example, you saw mechza tmei mechza tarim. V'noshim ashlimos tarim v'od fosaleim. Okay, here's the scenario. You had Am Yisrael. Now, if you would only look at the men, the minority of them, let's say this, if you only look at the men, the majority of them were tamei. The majority of the men were tamei. Yeah, is that what you said? Yeah, exactly. Wait, what? The taharim. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The majority of the men were tmeim. But if you include the women, so the majority of the men and women together were tahorim. Again, the majority of the men alone were tmeim. But if you add the women to the mix, then the majority of the total were tahor. So again. Heichidami, what's the scenario? Rav Ashi could go and show you saw mechza tmei mechza taharim v'noshim ashlimos taharim v'od fosaleim. That they were half tamei, half tahor. Really, what it means is that the majority of the men were tamei, but if you add the women to the mix, then the majority of the total become tahor, are tahor. So initially, Chizkiah thought that the chiyuv of women in the Korban Pesach is an obligation. They're chayavos. In which case, they should be included in the cheshbon of if the majority of the nation is tahor or tamei. Dav mi'utan tamei. And therefore, when the women were included, the majority was tahor and the minority was tamei. Umi'utan midchu lePesach sheni. And therefore, since only the minority of the nation was tamei, so therefore he said, okay, do Pesach Sheni. But then he held Noshem B'Rishon Rishus that the chiyuv of the women for the Korban Pesach Rishon is optional, in which case they are taken out of the cheshbon, and it's only the cheshbon of the men, and in the cheshbon of the men they were majority tmeim. Davlu tmeim ruba, that the majority is tmeim, v'ruba lo mintchu the Pesach Sheni, would not be deferred to Pesach Sheni, and therefore he did tshuva, because he made this mistake. He said that they should do Pesach Sheni, but really they should not have. Gufa Amar Shmuel, we said earlier that Shmuel says, Ein ma'abin es hashana b'yom shloshim shel Adar, that we do not leap the year on day 30 of Adar, hol v'roi l'kovo Nisan, since it could already be Nisan. Ibrua Mai, what if they were ma'aber the month, the year on day 30? Mai, what happens? Omar Ula says Ula ein mekachin es hachodesh. Interesting. So says Ula be'etzem, if on day 30 they were ma'aber the year, okay, so the year is leaped, but don't be mekadesh the chodesh and proclaim it as other. Rather say nothing, and at the end, and then at the end of the month, when be mekadesh the following month, say that the following month is Nisan, which means that memele, the previous one was Adar Sheni. Kilu, if on the 30th day of Adar you made it a leap year, don't proclaim the upcoming month as Adar Sheni. Rather, do nothing. Don't proclaim it as anything. And in a month from now, and proclaim the next month, proclaim it as Nisan, which means that memele, the one before that was Adar Sheni. Kid Shomai, what if they were mekadesh it as Adar Sheni when they leaped it on day 30 of Adar Rishon? Rava says, Rava bottle ibor. Well, then the ibor is now annulled. Rav Nachman says, no, the year is still leaped and the month is mikudished as Adar Sheni. Amalei Rava, Rav Nachman says Rava to Rav Nachman. Michte. 1 second, let's see. Mipuria lepischa tzlasin yomin. Between Purim, which is on the 14th, the 15th of Adar, and Pesach, which is the 15th of Nisan, there's 30 days. Tlasin Yom Avu, it's 30 days. Puria darshinon, maybe Puraya, Darshinan Bilchus HaPesach. And of course, right, the Tana is learning about it. Sharlim Bilchus HaPesach, Kodem Pesach, Shoshim Yom. That we learn Hilchos Pesach 30 days before Pesach. So already from Purim, halfway through Adar, if the assumption is that after Adar is going to be Nisan and there's no leap year, so if comes Purim, they're already learning Hilchos Pesach. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer Shtei Shabbosos. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says 2 weeks. And if when Rosh Chodesh comes, they're now adding a month, a buffer before Nisan, they're not going to trust that it's really leap year. They've already been studying Hilchos Pesach since Purim, expecting, they're already like in Pesach mode, and now you're going to tell them that it's a leap year? No, what? There's no leap year. What do you mean? They've already been studying Hilchos Pesach. They're already getting ready for Pesach. You're telling me now it's a leap year? I don't believe you. And therefore they're gonna still keep Pesach, assuming that it's not a leap year, and then comes actual Pesach, because it is a leap year, a month later, they're gonna think it isn't Pesach, and they're gonna eat chametz on Pesach. So Amalei, so Rav Nachman responds, that is not a concern, because because the people know the Shatim Me'abrisa, that look, when it comes to leaping a year, so you don't leap a year for fun. You leap a year because there's a real cheshbon, there's a real reason for it. So the people are going to say, look, okay, yeah, it's weird. We've already been planning for Pesach. We were assuming that Pesach was imminent. It's pretty weird for them to leap the year so last minute, but okay, we get it. Leap years are based on calculations, on cheshbonis, and there must be some factor that only came to light now. And the rabbis said, okay, well, based on this current factor, we need to leap the year. So that's what the people are going to say, and they will trust it. They won't eat chametz on Pesach. They will add another month and do Pesach after that. Woo! That was Daf Yud Beis of Masechet Sanhedrin. Wow, I don't know what we did. We talked about leap years during famine years, like food shortage. Then we got to we did other halachos of leap years, and then we got to this concept of Tumah, and we were discussing that, Tumah Hutra B'tzibur, Tumah Dechuya B'tzibur, leaping the year on day 30 of the month of Adar, all that kind of interesting stuff. Peace out.